Welcome everyone to this video. In this video, I will be explaining the English reading paper in the new SPM exam. In the previous video, I have briefly introduced the new SPM format of all 4 papers of the English exam. If you have not watched it, you may click on this link here and save it to watch later. The aims of this video is to give you an overview of the reading paper, and also I will be explaining in more details about the different task types. Besides, I will also provide some answering techniques which you can use in the exam, and also to give you some ideas on how to improve your reading skills in preparation for the exam. Before we go into the details of the reading paper, let us have a quick reminder of the 4 papers of the English exam. Paper 1 and Paper 2 are 1 hour and 30 minutes. Paper 3 speaking is about 13 minutes. And the listening paper is 40 minutes. Each paper is weighted equally, that is 25% of the total exam mark. Now, let's focus on Paper 1. Reading and use of English. Paper 1 consists of 5 parts with a total of 40 questions. 1 mark each, so make up a total of 40 marks. This includes a variety of short and long texts, which range from different task types like multiple choice questions, gap text, matching, and information transfer. Now let's look at each part in details. This paper that I'm showing you now is a sample paper published by SPM, which is Lembaga Peperiksaan Malaysia. This is to give us a clear guideline for the new format. Now let's look at Part 1 first. Part 1 consists of 8 multiple choice questions, which you need to choose the correct answer from 3 options given based on a short text in each question. The text can take various forms. For example, a notice. These are notice. An advertisement. A text message dialogue, or news report. Let's try out one sample question in Part 1. Let's take number 1. Okay. Now I give you 1 minute time to read through the question and try answer it on your own. If you need more time, you can pause the video. Time's up. The answer is A. Do you have the same answer? How do you get the answer? Try to think back on the strategies you have used to get the answer. Firstly, you read the question and you understand that what the question wants you to find out is the purpose of this advertisement. Then you read through the short text once to find out what's the purpose, right? But as you can see that the purpose is not explicitly stated in the text, so you have to read through each answer options to find out. So here they are, the strategies for you to answer question in part 1. 1. Read and understand what the question wants. Read the text once to get a general idea. Do not bother about unfamiliar words. Just guess the meaning from context. Some students, they are very particular in vocabulary. They want to look for dictionary for each single word that they don't understand. But in exam, you will not be able to bring in any dictionary. So what should you do when you have words that you don't understand? So just don't bother about it. Sometimes even the words you don't understand, you still can get the answer. Right or not? Because you can guess the meaning from context or from the words around it. Okay? Read through the answer options and identify keywords that also appear in the text. That means we find the same words or same phrases that appear in both the answer options and also in the text. Read the sentences in the text that contain the keywords again to find out the correct answer. Is that what you do? Read all the answer options and eliminate the wrong ones. Right? So sometimes when we read A and then we notice that A is the answer, then you choose not to read B and C. Okay? That is not a safe way to answer part 1. Because sometimes you may be confused. So it is better that you read all the answer options, okay, so that you make sure the other 2 options are wrong. Then you'll be very sure that your answer is correct. Alright? So did you also use all these same techniques in answering the sample question just now? Now try to use this strategy to answer the next question. Okay, the next question. And leave your answer in the comment section below. I give you 1 minute time. If you need extra time, you can pause the video. Time's up. Please type your answer in the comment section. Let me see how many of you get it right. And have you used the answering techniques that we have just discussed? Now let's move on to part 2. As I have mentioned, part 2 has a closed text with 10 gaps which you need to fill in by choosing the correct answer. You may have noticed that this part mainly focuses on testing your vocabulary and also grammatically knowledge. Let's go through some of the answering techniques before we try to answer some of the questions in part 2. First of all, you need to identify the tense used in the text. Is it past or present? How to do this? You can do this by looking at the first sentence of the text. Okay, let's look at the first sentence. The pangolin, often referred to as an anteater, is an animal usually found in Asia. Okay, we look at the verb used in this sentence. Which one is the verb? That is. When you have this verb, you know that this is in present tense. So most probably, I say most probably, not all the time, but most probably, the whole passage is also in present tense. Number 2, read the whole sentence and or the sentence before it to get clues. Okay, so not only to read the sentence that has gaps, you also need to sometimes read the sentence before it to get clues for your answer. If it is present tense, take note on whether the subject is singular or plural in the sentence. Number 4, remember all the grammatical formula. What I mean grammatical formula here is like when are you supposed to add ing, when are you supposed to add ed, when are you supposed to put an s. No, these are all the grammatical formula that you have to remember. Okay, fill in the gap with the answer options and read the sentence again. Does it sound right? Yeah, sometimes the sound of the sentence, it really helps you, right? When you, especially when you're not very sure whether your answer is correct or not, you try to fill in the gap with all the answer options one by one and read the sentence again. Alright, and for you to prepare for this part, you actually need to study parts of speech, parts of especially conjunctions, preposition and adjectives, which are frequently asked questions in the exam. Okay, so this will help you to prepare yourself for the grammar and also for the vocabulary that you need to equip to answer part 2. Now let's have a look at some part of the question, the first part of the text which I have cropped out, and also with question number 9 and 10. Okay, now we try to do questions 9 and 10 on your own. I give you about 1 minute time. Are you done? If you need more time, you can pause the video. Let's discuss the answer. The answers are D and A. Let's look at number 9. It is sometimes mistaken to be a reptile. It is in fact a mammal. So you look at this sentence, it has 2 parts actually, divided by a comma in between. So if you look carefully, the second part of the sentence actually gives you the clue for your answer. Look at the second part. It is in fact. When you have the phrase in fact, it means it is actually a mammal. Okay, it is sometimes mistaken to be a reptile, but it is actually a mammal. So what are you supposed to fill in for number 9? Of course, you should fill in although. If let's say you are not sure, okay, we use the answering technique that I've shared with you just now. Okay, you try to fit in with the other answers options in the gap and try to read again and see whether it sounds right. Okay, let's say A. If it is sometimes mistaken to be a reptile, it is in fact a mammal. Does it sound right? No, right? Okay. Despite it is sometimes mistaken to be a reptile, it is in fact a mammal. It doesn't sound right too. Correct? Okay. Since it is sometimes mistaken to be a reptile, it is in fact a mammal. Okay. Does it sound right? No. Okay. Since it is sometimes, that means because it is sometimes to be mistaken to be a reptile, so it become mammal. Does it sound right? Okay, no, right? Of course. Okay. All right. Number 10. Perhaps the most surprising and disappointing fact, the answer is fact, about the pangolin is that it is the world's most traded animal. The second part of the sentence is say it is the world's most traded animal. Okay, that means this information is a true one, it's a real one, it's a fact that you cannot change anymore. Okay, it is not merely an information. Okay, so in order for you to answer questions in part 2, you may have to equip yourself with more vocabulary. In fact, if you could understand all the meanings of all these words, okay, it will help you definitely to score this part easily. Okay, but let's say if you really don't understand some of the words, so this is the way that you can do it. Just fit in the gap with all the answer options and try to read again. Okay, or you can eliminate which one is absolutely wrong answer. Okay, of course you will understand some of the answer options, right? Let's move on to part 3. In this part, you are given a much longer comprehension text and you have to answer 8 multiple choice questions with 4 options each based on the passage. The text can be fictional, like a story, or factual. The one that I'm showing you here is biographical, with the writer describes his childhood from the first person point of view. In order to score this part, you need to master the reading strategies or reading skills that I have listed down here. Skimming, scanning, guessing the meaning of words, and recognizing attitude or opinion. Let's go through them one by one. Number 1, skimming for general idea. Before you start answering the questions, it is always advisable for you to skim through the text once very quickly to get an overall picture of what the text is about. Skimming means you don't have to pay attention at the details yet, and you also don't have to bother about words you don't understand. Just go through the text very quickly to get a general idea. Just like playing puzzle. Is it easy to solve the puzzle if I just throw a whole bunch of pieces to you without letting you to look at the whole picture? Definitely not. You don't even know what the puzzle is. Is it a fruit, a cartoon character, or an animal? But if you have looked at the whole picture of the puzzle, it saves you lots of time to put all the pieces together, right? That's why it is important to skim through the whole passage first to get a general idea and understand the purpose of the text before going into details and answering the questions. How you skim? You don't have to look at every single word. Most of the time we focus on the first and the last sentence of each paragraph, while the middle part of the paragraph we can just glance through very quickly. Now let's try. I give you 3 minutes to skim through the passage. Then later we will discuss what are the main ideas of this passage. Let's try.
Thank you.
Time's up. If you need more time, you can pause the video. But basically, you don't use too much time at this stage yet. Now that you have skimmed through the text, can you tell me what is the main idea of this passage? What is the text talking about? Or if you are going to give a title to this passage, what would it be? Of course, you don't have to waste time figure out a sentence to summarize the whole passage, but you roughly know it's about the writer's childhood. It talks about how the writer's mother prepared meals in the kitchen, and also it talks about hard times that the family is facing. Don't worry even if you don't get the main idea correctly. You will understand the passage better when you read the text in details later in the next stage. Again, I emphasize, for skimming, it's just to give you a general idea. It doesn't mean you must understand the text very well. Number 2, scanning. It's the main skill that you need to answer the questions. Now it's time to focus on the details. So it's good to look at the question first so you know what are the details you need to scan for. As you can see here, some of the questions do mention which paragraph you can look for the answer. And most of the time, the question follows the sequence of the text content. Let's try to do question 21 together. Question 21. In paragraph 4, how did the writer describe their new life in Singapore? A. They could not go out much. B. The mother started a business. C. The family had to depend on others. D. They had to live in a cramped place. Okay, now let's look at paragraph 4. Okay, so this is paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, and this is paragraph 4. From here until here. Okay, alright, let's read through and focus on the keywords that appear in the questions and also in the answer options. Okay, when I was 8, our whole family moved south to Singapore. You see, the question is asking their new life in Singapore. So they have moved south to Singapore. Okay, so we know that this is the part that you will be able to get the answer. Life did not improve much as all 6 of us were forced to huddle in a rented room. So this is the same meaning as in the option D. They had to live in a cramped place. Okay, so here we know that option D is correct. Okay, but don't just stop here. We must continue. We must also make sure the other 3 options are wrong. Then only we can confirm that option D is correct. Okay, so let's continue reading. Life conditions were really difficult. Mom just kept quiet and she preferred to stay with her family behind closed doors, and when she had to stir out of the room, she would go her own way, minding her own business. Here mention the word business, like the word business in option B. But this business in the passage, it says her mother mind her own business. Does that mean that her mother has started a business? No, definitely not. These are 2 different meanings, right? Mind her own business means she only cares for her own things. She's doing her own things. She doesn't care about any other things. Okay, so that means that doesn't mean that she has started a business. So option B is wrong. Okay, alright, let's continue to read the rest of the paragraph. She was determined not to let the crowded conditions prevent her from feeding her family properly. Now, Mom would cook using coal instead of firewood. Mom had to buy the coal from the shop and carry it home. The process of cooking using it was even harder, but it did not stop Mom from giving the best to her family. Okay, so option A, they could not go out much. And option C, the family had to depend on others, are not mentioned in paragraph 4. So we know that A, B, C are not the answers. So answer D is correct. They had to live in a cramped place. So this is one demonstrations of doing scanning. Of course, in exam, you can scan faster because you don't have to read aloud the passage. So it is, when you just scan through with your eyes, it will be much faster. Other than skimming and scanning, you also need to master the skill of guessing meaning of unfamiliar words from clues provided by other words or by context. I always emphasize that you don't have to check dictionary for all the words that you don't understand in order to understand the passage. Look at how babies learn a language. Do they check the dictionary? No, they learn by guessing. How they guess the meaning? By observing the situation, looking at the speaker's facial expression, listening to the tone of the speaker. All these clues give him the information he needs to understand the meaning of the words they hear. We humans are born with this skill of guessing meaning. So don't worry so much about unfamiliar words in the text. When you read through the sentence or the sentence before and after it, you should be able to guess the meaning of the word. And of course, the skimming skill does help you to guess the meaning too. I believe that some of you may have used this skill when you answer question 21 just now. Let's take the word harder as an example. Okay, the word harder in paragraph 4. Okay, let's say you don't know the meaning of this word. Let's read through the sentence again. Life did not improve much as all 6 of us were forced to huddle in a rented room. So what are the clues in this sentence that tell you the meaning of the word harder? The phrase all 6 of us, force a rented room. So this is quite clear here that the word harder means crowd together or cram together in a small place. And this is how you get the answer of option D. They had to live in a cramped place. So this is how you do guessing meaning. One more skill that is important is to recognize the attitude or opinion of the writer. We can do this when we skim through the text. This is a very important skill that will help us to answer some of the questions too. For example, if we could identify whether the writer has a positive or negative attitude towards certain situation, it helps us to decide what could be the possible words used to describe the character's feelings or actions. Actually, most questions require us to use all these 4 skills in order to reach the correct answer. Let's look at question 20. I will give you 1 minute to answer this question. Time's up. If you need more time, you can pause the video. The answer is D. Did you get it right? Let's recall what are the reading skills you have used that leads you to the answer. You need to Scan through the details of the paragraph. And you also need to understand the writer's opinion about his mother's attitude in this paragraph. You may also need to guess meaning of unfamiliar words. That's why I say, master all these 4 skills. You will be able to answer all the questions in this part. Let's proceed to part 4. In this part, you need to read a text that has 6 sentences being removed, and you have to choose the sentences from here to fit in the gaps in the text. And there are 8 choices here, which means there are 2 extra sentences that do not belong to the text. These are just to distract you and make the task more challenging. In order to complete the task in this part, the reading skills you need are basically the same with the reading skills that we have just used in part 3 just now. In this task, you also need to skim through the text once to get a general idea of what this text is about. You also need to scan for specific details, and you also need to guess meaning from words. But one different skills to be used here is to recognize typical features at word, sentence, and text levels. What does this mean? This means you need to focus on the uses of language, which includes grammar, the vocabulary, the sentence structure, and the organization of the whole passage. Let's try. First of all, look at the topic of the passage. This is important as the topic gives you an idea of what the text is about, and this actually makes the whole reading process much easier. As you skim through the text, it is important to focus on how this passage is organized. That means focus on what is the main idea of each paragraph. So take out your highlighter or pencil. As you skim through the text, highlight or underline the main idea or some important information of each paragraph. Try not to highlight the whole sentence, but just to highlight the important keywords that tell you the main idea of each paragraph. Let me demonstrate with the first paragraph. So, what to highlight in the first paragraph? The first paragraph is an introduction. It gives you some information like the writer is a prefect and he has joined a leadership camp and has a feeling of achievement about the camp. So from here, we know the attitude of the writer about the camp, and we can expect that the following paragraphs are going to talk about all the positive things he experienced in the camp. Now I give you 2 minutes time to skim through the rest of the text and also the choices of sentences. Highlight some important keywords. Focus especially on the first sentence of each paragraph, the sentences before and after the gap. 2 minutes starts now. If you need more time, you can pause this video. So now can you tell me how this passage is being organized? The first paragraph is an introduction, like I mentioned. It gives you some information about the writer and the camp. Then paragraph 2 to 5 mainly describe the various activities and what the writer has learned in the camp. And the last paragraph is the conclusion in which the writer describes his opinion about the camp. These are the keywords that I have highlighted. It's okay if you have highlighted different words from mine, but bear in mind that the words you highlighted should be the keywords that give you information to find the correct sentences that could fit in the gaps. For example, question 28. This paragraph talks about workshop on how to deal with disciplinary cases. Out of the options given, there is only one sentence that talks about disciplinary problem. That is sentence B. Now try to fit this sentence in the gap and read again the sentence before and after it to check if it's correct. So this is the gap 28. We read the sentence before it. The hands-on activity taught me how to deal with these sort of difficult situations. Now I am more confident about addressing problems of behavior with the junior students. This knowledge is something to be shared with the new prefects in my school. So it fits perfectly in this gap, right? Okay, so that is how you find the answer. There are some other tips that could help you to find the answer more easily. Focus on these words like these, those, that. These words help you to identify how the sentences link together. Like the question 28 that we just did, the sentence after the gap say, this knowledge. So we know that in the gap should be a knowledge that the writer has learned. Other than that, adverbs used to link ideas between sentences can give you some hints as well. Adverbs like however, additionally, secondly, these are all the words that give you hints. Like the word now in sentence B links the idea of what the writer has learned from the hands-on activities mentioned in the sentence before it. In other cases, focus also on synonyms or words that have similar meanings. For example, gap 27 in paragraph 2. Let's focus on the sentences before and after the gap. To our horror, the facilitators made it compulsory for everyone to participate. We had no choice but to build up our courage and speak up. You see the word compulsory here? Compulsory, no choice. They have similar meaning. Let's look at the options given here. Which one also has similar meaning with compulsory and no choice? It is option D. I was pushed out of my comfort zone, right? The phrase push out also has similar meaning with compulsory and no choice. So now let's fit in this into the gap and then we try to read again to check whether it fits well. To our horror, the facilitators made it compulsory for everyone to participate. I was pushed out of my comfort zone. We had no choice but to build up our courage and speak up. It fits perfectly well, right? Finally, the grammar used in the sentence also may give you some hints. For example, if the sentence before and after the gap are in past tense, the sentence that could fit in the gap is likely to be in past tense too. Let me use gap 30 to explain this. Okay, so let's look at the sentence before it. There were also other enjoyable experiences during my short stint at the camp. So it is using past tense here. Okay, the sentence after the gap. But the truth was, I occasionally got homesick. Both sentences are in past tense. So the sentence that could fit in the gap is most probably past tense too. So which sentence can fit in the gap? I really tried to focus on all the positive. Okay, so this is also using past tense. Okay, so we could try to fit this in this gap. There were also other enjoyable experiences during my short stint at the camp. I really tried to focus on all the positive, but the truth was I occasionally got homesick. Okay, all three sentences are in past tense too. Let me summarize the answering techniques in part 4. Number 1, skim the text once to get a general idea. Number 2, read again and focus on how each paragraph is organized. Highlight important keywords and main ideas. Then, you also must read the answer options and highlight keywords like subject, pronouns, and also the adverbs. When matching, focus on the keywords that you have highlighted, as well as the synonyms and also the grammar tenses used in the sentences before and after the gap. Reread the paragraph to check if the sentences fit well. You don't have to start with the first gap. You can start with the easiest one instead. Remember, after you have choose a sentence, eliminate the sentence, cut out the sentence, so you are very clear that which sentence options are left to fit in the other gaps. Let's move on to part 5, matching and information transfer. This part includes completions of notes or diagrams, matching, as well as short answer questions. There are 8 questions in this part. As you can see in this sample task here, the texts are quite short. I believe that most of you are quite familiar with this task, as you have been doing information transfer and matching ever since Form 1. In this sample paper here, question 33 to 36 require you to match the statement with the correct paragraph A to F. Again, the reading skills that you need in this task are basically the same with those you need in doing part 3 and 4 just now. Do you still remember them? Firstly, skim the text once to get a general idea of what the text is about. So now I give you 1 minute time to skim through the text. What are you supposed to do after you have skimmed through the text? Now it is scanning for specific details. Let's read through the questions and highlight the important keywords so you know what are the details you need to scan in the text later. You may pause this video to do so. These are the keywords that I have highlighted. Now, let's scan through the text to find out the similar information that match with the statement. Paragraph A, it mentioned here, poor families my neighborhood and taught me to be more compassionate. So, to which statement that these keywords are similar to? Poor families that match with the word unfortunate. My neighborhood match with my area. Compassionate that has the same meaning with sympathize. So very obvious, we know the answer for 35 is A. Take note here in this task, you just need to write the alphabet of that paragraph. You don't have to write the name of the teenager, or you don't even have to write the age of the teenager. Just write A will do. Continue with the next one. Paragraph B. This phrase here, at first, I didn't know many people there and wasn't very enthusiastic. At first, I wasn't very enthusiastic. Does this match with any of the statement here? Yes. At first has a similar meaning with initially. Okay. Wasn't very enthusiastic means he did not enjoy. Right? Okay. So we know that the answer for question 33 is B. So we have the answer for question 33 to 36 already. So you notice that just now when I was doing this, I didn't start with the first statement, right? You don't have to follow the order of the question. You can do any one as long as you manage to find the answer from the text. Bear in mind that you always highlight the keywords. Try to see whether the keywords in the text match with the keyword in the statement. This is to help you to check your answer later, and it saves your time. You don't have to read through or scan through the text again. So when you check your answer, very obviously you can focus on the highlighted keywords to check your answers. Now let's try to do question 37 to 40 together. Read through the instruction. This part is very important to read through the instruction. Okay, complete the notes below using the information from the text. Choose no more than one word. So see, it mentions no more than one word. Okay, it is not that every time in SPM it will say no more than one word. Sometimes it may be no more than 2 words or no more than 3 words. That's why reading the instruction is very important, right? As you know how many words you need to write in the answer. Okay, so in this case, no more than one word. That means your answer should be one word only. Okay, each of this blank should fill in one word only. Again, we should highlight the keywords before we scan for the specific details from the text. Let's highlight the keywords first. You can pause this video to do so. These are the keywords or phrases that I have highlighted. As you notice here, I use different colors to highlight for this part. So if possible in exam, you also can use different colors to highlight for different parts. So you can see clearly from where do you get the answer. Okay, let's do question 37 together. So here I highlighted interested animals at a zoo. Okay, so this statement talks about animals. So we know that from paragraph A to F, let's see which paragraph talks about animal. It is paragraph B and also paragraph D, right? So let's just focus on these two paragraphs. And you notice that I also highlighted prepositions at. So since I have the word at, so you know that this should be a place. The answer to be filled in the gap here should be a place. Okay, so let's scan through these two paragraphs again, paragraph B and D again, to find out what is the word that mention a place that can be fit in here. And this place should have the similar meaning with zoo, right? Because it has the phrase or zoo here. Alright, let's scan through paragraph B and find out. Do you see this word here? Shelter, right? Could it be a possible word to fill in? Let's try to fill in this blank with the word shelter and read through to see whether it sounds. Those who are interested in working with animals could help out at a shelter or zoo. Does it sound right? And does it fit grammatically correct in this sentence? Yes, it does. But also you still need to scan through the whole paragraph again to make sure there is no other more suitable word to be filled up here. Carry on with question 38. I have highlighted senior citizens, ways to them. Okay, so you notice that the phrases before the gap and after the gap is often important, that you need to highlight them. Okay, especially the preposition. Like for example, in this sentence, the preposition is to. When you have the word to, you know that this blank is supposed to be a verb. Right? After the word to, it is supposed to be a verb. And it must not have any ing, ed, or s or after that verb. It must be an original verb. Okay. Now, this question is for senior citizen. Let's look at the paragraph that talks about senior citizens. It is paragraph C because it mentioned old folks home. Right? Let's scan through the text to see which is the verb that you can fit in to this gap. Okay, ways to something, a verb here that can influence them. The them here refers to the senior citizens. Okay, let's go scan through. There are a lot of verbs here. So like for example, spend time, right? But you don't have the preposition with in the question, so you cannot use spend time. And spend time is, there are two words here. The question, the answer should be only one word. Alright. Go. You cannot say go them. Okay, this is a verb also, but you cannot say ways to go them, right? Okay. Listening is a verb, but in this case it has ing. We cannot use this after to. Correct? Okay. Thought is also a verb, but as I mentioned, after the verb to, it must be followed by an original verb. You cannot be past tense, right? Okay, let's continue. Bring. Can you say bring? Ways to bring them? No, it doesn't sound right. You see this? To entertain them. It fits perfectly here, right? For senior citizens, it's useful to think of ways to entertain them. It fits well, right? It even have the same words used in the passage also, to and them. So we know that exactly this is the answer. Now let's rewind what are the answering tips in part 5. Number 1, skim the text once to get a general idea. As you are skimming, you can guess meaning of the words from clues and recognize the attitude of the writer. These are the reading skills that you use in part 3 and part 4 as well, and in this part. Okay, so the next step, you read through the questions and highlight the keywords. Then, scan for specific details in the text that have similar meaning to the keywords in the questions, and this helps you to find the answer. For the note completion part, focus on the preposition used before the gap to decide the word form that fits in the gap well. For example, if you have the preposition at, in, on, you know that the answer should be time or place. If you have the preposition to, it should be followed by a verb. If you have a, the, then it should be followed by a noun. And if there is a noun after the gap, then the gap should be an adjective. Okay, the word and links two same word form together. Focus on the suffix of the words. This will help you to know the word form. If the word end with the suffix ment, shen, these are nouns. If the word end with the suffix ed, ing, fu, less, these are adjectives. Of course, there are more suffixes that you need to learn, you need to master. Okay, so basically, these skills needs you to understand the sentence structure well. Okay, number 8, reread the sentence to check if the word fits well in the gap. These are all the answering strategies for paper 1. I hope these will be useful for you. As you still have a few months' time to the SPM exam, what you can do now is to equip yourself with as many vocabulary as possible and also to get yourself familiarized with the sentence structure in English. So how are you going to do this? Here, I would like to give you some suggestions on how to improve your English in your daily life. First of all, of course, you have to read a lot of English books. If time doesn't allow, as I understand that you have a lot of other subjects to study as well, try to at least read 5 minutes a day. Although it seems little, it does help. Secondly, watch English movies or dramas. This is one of the most effective ways which you can learn and entertain yourself at the same time. Even if you are watching your Korean drama series, switch the subtitle to English. Other than that, sing English songs. Not only just listening to the songs, search the lyrics and sing along. Singing helps you to improve your listening skills as well as your pronunciation. And at the same time, it helps you to release tension. Besides that, use social media in English. I believe all of you do have Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, WeChat. From now on, switch everything to English instead of Malay or Chinese. Even chat with your friends in English. Lastly, do more practices. Do all the homework that your teacher assigns you and don't hesitate to get your teacher's help if you have any problem. The more you practice, the more you will be able to master the reading skills that I have shared throughout this video. Finally, I wish all of you the best in your SPM. If you find this video helpful, please subscribe and share it with your friends. I will see you in the next video. Bye!